and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I would like to share my recipe for tomatillo chili base soup that you can can. Now I choose to can my tomatillos without a whole lot of added other ingredients such as meat or a whole lot of additional vegetables. And the reason why I choose to do that is because if you start adding a whole lot of items such as meat and corn and things like that, your canning time has to be extended to a point where I really feel like the whole product starts to scorch, particularly in a pressure canner. And so I opt to just leave those extra finishing items out of my chili base, and then I simply add them when I go to heat and eat the soup. So I'll can my meat separately, and I'll can my corn separately, and then I can my tomatillo chili base separately so that I can that base at a shorter hot water bath time. And then I just toss all the ingredients together to heat and serve it. Now, tomatillos, as a lot of you probably know, are actually in the fruit family, much like a tomato. They come in small, kind of plum sizes, medium sizes, or even, if you're lucky enough like I am, they come in very large sizes. Now, when I'm creating recipes, I, of course, always think about my ratio of raw vegetable or fruit to how many quarts I wish to fill. And I created this recipe based on a full canner, which would be 7 quarts of product. Now, approximately 2 pounds of tomatillos is needed to fill a single quart jar. So today, I am working with 14 pounds of tomatillos. And that is what I based all of my recipe ingredients and measurements and whatever off of, is 14 pounds. Now, if you don't want that much, you of course can cut all of the ingredients in half. But first of all, you have 2 things that you can do. You can either do a roasted tomatillo soup base, or you can just make a regular soup base. Now, I choose to just make a regular soup base simply because I avoid the roasting time in the oven. But if you choose to add that additional flavor, because that's what it does, you can cook your tomatillos and your garlic in the oven and roast them until they're just lightly charred. And it really does add a very, very interesting touch of flavor to this chili base. But I'm a person that I can't, number one, I can't eat a whole lot of seeds. I have something that's called diverticulitis, and so small seeds really cause me a lot of problems and actually can end me up in the hospital. And so I try to avoid real tiny small seeds, you know, things like on strawberries or inside blueberries or poppy seeds or sesame seeds on bread. I've got to kind of avoid all those things. And so even though it's not a real common thing to do, I actually have to de-seed my tomatillos. Now, most of you probably do not struggle with seeds, and so most people do not de-seed their tomatillos, okay? And that's absolutely fine. I'll just show you what I do. And you make the decision whether you want to go through the extra step of de-seeding it or not. Most people can eat the seeds without any problems. I'm just not one of those lucky people that can do that, so I have to take the extra step and de-seed them. But the beginning steps of this tomatillo chili soup base is going to be the same for all of us. Whether you decide to roast your tomatillos and garlic in the oven and get them nice and charred, or whether you prefer to do it the way that I'm doing today. And I'm just going to page you down and we're going to get started. So I have all of my tomatillos that have been kind of cooking in my large electric roasting pan. And honestly, I've had mine cooking for a little bit longer than what I should have, just because life has gotten in the way. But just even an hour or two with a little bit of water is all you need to get these tomatillos really softened up. And what I do after they're cooked is, I'll find a spoon here. I just take and bring them out of my roasting pan and stick them right directly into my blender. And whether you can do the seeds or whether you want to de-seed, we're all going to do the same step here. Take your cooked tomatillos, whether it's from the oven or from your roasting pan, and just stick them into a blender. And we're just going to liquefy all of these tomatillos up, just lickety split. Skins and all. Now, you know, with tomatillos, you don't have to core them. You do not have to blanch and remove the skins. The skins become very, very soft, and you don't have to remove that stuff at all. Okay, so I've got some of my tomatillos in my blender here. You know, I got to get the top for it, you guys. I guess I'm not prepared today. I will be right back. All right, I'm back with my lid. Now just go ahead and liquefy those. Obviously doesn't take very long to get this wonderful slurry. Now, if you're a person that can go ahead and consume these seeds, you're pretty much done already, and you can just dump that in a pan. Now, I myself, as I explained, I can't eat seeds. It causes me problems in my digestive system. And so what I do is I take a wire mesh strainer and I just pour my slurry into that strainer. And then I'm going to mix it around with a rubber spatula until I get all of the liquid through, and I'm just left with nothing but a nice thick pulp of seeds. And some of the flesh will be left too, but not very much of it. So this is how I de-seed it. It's just so easy to do. It does take a little extra time, and it's a little extra step that you might not have to take. But obviously I need to take it, so this is how I do it, if that helps anybody else out that has issues with seeds. Okay, so I'm going to spread this out here in my strainer and have you guys take a look at this. Tomatillos just have hundreds and hundreds of seeds in them. So you can see that I have just extracted all of those seeds out of that very tiny amount of tomatillos. There's just thousands of them in there. And now I'm going to take this, and I am going to save this pulp because I can dehydrate this, and actually after dehydrating it to the crisp stage, then I can completely powder it in a electric coffee grinder and pulverize the seeds and make it into a powder that I can actually consume also. But it's impossible to destroy these seeds in just a regular blender. So I just take this pulp and I save it to dehydrate it, and then I will later powder it, and that powder can then be made into a green enchilada sauce. And I'll probably walk you through that process with me too. But right now I'm just going to set that aside, and I'm going to continue going on and de-seeding the rest of my tomatillos. And then we will come back and I will continue on with the recipe and the canning method for you. So I will be back in just a little while. All right, guys, so I will go over the recipe here with you. I have de-seeded all of my tomatillos, and I actually came up with 8 quarts of finished product after I was done de-seeding. Now, your volume may vary. If you leave those seeds and whatever in there, which is absolutely fine to do, your volume may vary a little bit more than what my volume does. But I am working with 14 pounds of tomatillos. And because of the way that I cooked mine, there was a little additional fluid or juice in there also. So just realize that your volume might vary just a little bit. All right, so this is the recipe that I have created, and what it is 14 pounds of tomatillos. Now, like I said, you can roast those in the oven and char them just a little bit if you would like to, and you can also add your garlic in with that to roast that also. And I use 6 to 7 cloves of garlic for this recipe. So either roast your tomatillos by cutting them in half and drizzling just a little bit of olive oil or something and roasting them in, I would say, like maybe a 350 oven until they get just a little charred and black. You can do that, or you can just cook your tomatillos in an electric roaster with a little bit of water, kind of like what I did. I find cooking it in the electric roaster just really helps assist me in doing that seed removal. But if you don't have to remove the seeds, you know, it doesn't matter how you cook them, whether you would cook them in an electric roaster or in your oven. But just know that, you know, charring them just a little bit does add a little interest of flavor. Now, because I don't roast mine or char them in the oven, I do add just a little touch of liquid smoke to this recipe. But you might find that you don't need to do that because you've kind of added that smoky flavor if you roast them. But 14 pounds of tomatillos, 6 to 7 garlic cloves peeled, 2 medium onions chopped, 2 large bell peppers. Now this is of your choice, green, red, yellow, orange, whatever color of bell pepper you want to use or you have on hand, you go ahead and use it. And then we're going to have 3 tablespoons of cumin, 3 tablespoons of oregano, salt and pepper to taste. And like I said, I'm going to add just a little touch of liquid smoke just to give mine that flavor that I'm missing out on, you know, that you might obtain by roasting yours in the oven. So I'm going to page down here after I got my tomatillos all blended up in the blender, and I particularly removed my seeds, but you might not have done that step. Then what you're going to do is you're going to just take a couple of tablespoons of oil of your choice, you know, whether that be ghee or lard or even a little bacon grease, whatever you want to saute your vegetables in. And I'm just going to take all of my chopped peppers and my onions, and we're just going to saute those for a few minutes and get them nice and soft. So I will saute these for about, I'd say 5 to 7 minutes. And I am going to add my garlic to that also, but I saute my my onions and my peppers for a little while before I add the garlic, because I don't want the garlic to just really get super, super brown and overcooked. So I'll probably saute these for about 3 or 4 minutes before I add my garlic. But then I'll add my garlic in there, and I'm just going to cook these until they're nice and sauteed and softened. And at that point in time, I will be back to show you the next step. All right, my onions and peppers have cooked for about 4 minutes, have sauteed for about 4 minutes. And this is the point where I'm going to add my fresh minced garlic. And I'm just going to continue sauteing this for probably another 3 or 4 minutes. What we're really trying to do is just get these veggies softened up a bit, because what we're going to do is we're going to stick them in the blender and liquefy them just like what we did with the tomatillos. So I'll just continue cooking this for a few more minutes and then I'll be right back. All right, so my onions and peppers, and you can see I have a combination of green and orange bell pepper in there. But anyway, so my onions, peppers, and garlic have sauteed until they're nice and reduced and they're fairly soft, okay? So now I'm going to take my blender again and I'm going to scoop out just a little bit of my liquefied tomatillos and just get that in my blender. And to that, then I am going to add all of my sauteed vegetables. Get all that goodness in there. And this is the time that I also add all of my seasonings, okay, my dry seasonings. So I'm going to do 3 tablespoons of cumin. 1, 2, and 3. 3 tablespoons of oregano. I'm going to do some salt and pepper to taste. I'd say that was at least 2 tablespoons of salt and probably close to 1 tablespoon of pepper. And at this point in time, you have creative freedom to spice this up a little bit and add some heat. Now, I'm going to put just a little touch of chili powder in. I think I'm going to add about a tablespoon of chili powder. And these are optional. You know, you don't have to add any heat to it if you don't want to. And chili powder really isn't hot. But the other thing that I'm adding is I'm adding home dehydrated jalapeno powder. And I'm going to be kind of careful with this stuff because it's gotten pretty potent over the last couple of years. It's pretty spicy stuff. But if you wanted to, you could add canned jalapeno slices to this, or habanero, chili peppers, whatever you wanted to. You just go ahead and spice it the way that you want. Now, I do warn you, though, that in canning, hot, spicy type peppers, they do intensify with the canning process. So be a little conservative on your measurements when you're adding that hot stuff. But then we're just going to whir this up until it's all nice and liquefied. Alrighty. And then we are just going to add that. Well, I've got to play a little stovetop Jenga here and move things around. We're going to add that just right back into all of our tomatillo. Our tomatillo stock pot now is what it is. It's all cooked and blended. And all of those wonderful herbs and spices are just going to go back into the mix. I think I need to go and get myself a spatula. So just give me one moment, please, and I will be right back. Okay. Have spatula will travel. Anyway, I want all of that good flavoring. I don't want to miss any of that in my blender. So I'm just going to clean my blender out really, really good. All right. Set this aside and get ourselves a spoon and get that soup just completely mixed up really nice and well. Now, I'm going to turn this on low heat and just bring it to a simmer just to kind of marry all of those flavors together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little bit of a taste test at that point in time. Because you want to taste this, this chili base before you get it put into your canning jars and you can it all up, just in case you want to add a little bit more flavoring to it. Maybe you don't think that there was enough garlic in there. Maybe you need a little bit more salt. So what I do is I just bring it back up and over very low heat, because remember, a tomatillo is kind of like a tomato and it can scorch really easily on the bottom of your pan. So don't leave this unattended. Just bring it up to a simmer, give it a little taste test, and then we're going to be ready to get them in our canning jars and into the canner. So I'll just bring this to a simmer and I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, so my tomatillo soup or chili is almost up to a simmer, and this is the time that I'm going to add my lime juice. And you can add the lime or the juice of 1 or 2 small limes. It just kind of brightens the flavor and adds kind of a nice touch. All right, so we got that in there. I'm going to add a little bit of my liquid smoke. Now, I use a product from, this is from Fleet Farm, and of course my lights are something else. This is the Lem brand, and I'll tell you what, you guys, this is my favorite liquid smoke ever, but it is really potent stuff. So I'm only going to add one little capful of that liquid smoke flavoring. And I did a little taste test off cam, and I kind of felt like it was a little bit on the tart side. Now, you know, this is why I say you need to taste it and adjust things to your taste. But for me, it was a little bit on the tart side from my tomatillos being young. You know, the older your tomatillos and the more mature they are, the more sweet they are. Mine were a little on the tart side. And so I'm going to add probably about the equivalent of maybe 1/4 to 1/2 cup. This isn't packed, obviously. 1/4 to 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So you taste yours and see if yours needs a little sweetening. And if it does, just add a little bit of brown sugar in there. So I'm just going to stir this and we'll give it another taste test and see where we're setting. Dissolve all that good brown sugar in there. Oh, that liquid smoke just adds so much character, you guys. Oh, so good. Yeah. Even with just that little bit of home dehydrated jalapeno powder, you know how I said I had to be careful with it? Boy, that's got a punch. Be really careful with your peppers. But anyway, so I'm going to get my canner set up and hopefully calm the dog down. She's excited about something out the door there. But anyway, I'm going to get my canner set up and then I will come back and show you how we get these canned up for shelf-stable product. All right, so I have, like I said, got my Tomatillo chili. Sorry, I had one of those moments. Got that up to a simmer, and I've prepared my canner. Now, we're working with a hot product today, so we want to have a hot canner. And this is a high-acid food, okay? It's in the family of tomatoes, and so it is technically a high-acid food. And so it is very, very safe for just a simple hot water bath. I'm going to get my stuff a little closer here. It's very safe for just a simple hot water bath or a steam can. And all we're going to do is fill up our jars. Now, be really careful if your jars are cold so that you don't get thermal shock going on. Just start pouring your hot soup in there just a little slower than normal so that you don't crack any of your jars. But there is no reason to sanitize your jars necessarily. You want clean jars, but they don't have to be sanitized when you're doing anything over a 10-minute hot water bath or a pressure canning session either. But today we are just going to hot water bath. Technically, I am going to use my stovetop pressure canner as a steam canner. Steam canning and hot water bathing are the exact same safety factors and same results. So we are just going to fill up our jars to approximately 1-inch headspace. And just like any other canning, just like any other canning thing, I forgot my washcloth. I'll be right back. All right, guys. I swear, if my head wasn't attached tight, sometimes I'd forget that somewhere. Anyway, so I've got my clean laundered washcloth, and we're just going to, just like any other canning project, wipe our rim and then place our lid and ring fingertip tight and get that right into a hot, prepared canner. All right, up to about 1-inch headspace. Get that rim wiped off. I'm going to inspect that jar one last time. Something felt a little rough there. I don't know. We'll see if that bad boy seals for us. All right, and into a hot canner. All right, so I'm just going to finish filling the rest of my jars, and we'll get the canning process started. Okay, so I have my canner. Like I said, I'm going to be using my pressure canner as a steam canner today, which is the same as hot water bathing. And I'm going to hot water bath these for 40 minutes. I tend to just treat my my tomatillos just like tomatoes. Okay, what's going on? What am I now? Oh, I've got my canner turned around. You guys, I seem to be having issues today. The reason why I can't get that lid on is because I have my canner turned around the wrong way. There. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Anyway, well, it's just one of those days, right? So, I'm going to bring my canner up to a vent, a full vent, what I consider a full vent. And I have a video on how to steam can, and we'll put that down in the description of this video. So if you want to know everything about steam canning, feel free to watch that video. But what I do is I bring my canner up to an old-fashioned full vent, which means that my pressure valve lid lock button will pop up on its own. My emergency button will kind of rise up too, so no steam and stuff is coming out of that. And only steam will be coming out of my weight pipe vent. And that is what I consider a full vent. At the moment that I reach a full vent, that's when I'm going to start my timing period of 40 minutes for this wonderful Tomatillo chili soup base. So we'll come back in a little over 40 minutes so I can allow my canner to cool for a few minutes. But I'll show you the beautiful, beautiful results when it's all done canning. Be back in a while. All right, so we've gotten through the steam canning period, and I've allowed my canner to cool off. So I'm just going to go ahead and take these lovely jars out of the canner and allow them to cool and seal. Look at this beautiful finished product. This is going to make an amazing chili base. Now I will go on after they cool and seal. I will go on to actually show you how I do make a chili out of this wonderful Tomatillo soup base. But for now, I'm just going to get them out of the canner and allow them to cool and seal for, I don't know, around 8 to 10 hours. Some people say to go ahead and leave them for 24 hours, but if they're completely cool in 8 to 10 hours and they have sealed, I don't have a problem. Just go ahead and washing them up and getting them labeled. But anyway, so I will be back in just a few hours. Well, it'll be just a few seconds here on the video. So I'll be back in a very short while, and I'll show you how I heat and serve this soup with a few added goodies to it. All right, so my tomatillo soup has had the opportunity to cool and seal overnight. And I just did want to point out to you that due to the way that I cook my tomatillos, you know, so that I can personally deseed them, the excess water does kind of separate out at the bottom of it, but that's not a problem at all. This is a wonderful flavored tomatillo spicy juice in there. So all I do is I just mix it right back up into the soup. Either you don't need to drain it off or anything, just give your jar a little bit of a shake and it reincorporates. But it's just a wonderful, beautiful tomatillo soup base. I haven't washed my jars up here yet either, but tonight what I would like to do is I would like to take you along on how I actually heat and serve this soup. And this is where you can just be as creative as you want to. I am choosing to put canned pork in my soup tonight, canned corn in my soup, and I generally add beans also, but I happen to be out of canned beans. I need to get on top of that and can some more beans. But generally I put either white beans in, or sometimes I'll even put cooked pinto beans in. But if you'd like to add carrots, just go wild with your imagination. You can do a meatless version and make it just all vegetables, but just use any vegetables that you want to in it. The reason, again, I will recap, that I do not can it with meat is because that would need to extend the canning time to such a time that the tomatillos and things would kind of scorch and burn. And so that's why I choose not to do meat. And the same thing with the corn. I don't put the corn in there because corn is a really long extended canning period also. And so the same thing would happen. So I just choose to do my tomatillo soup base, and then I just add my fun things to it when I go to heat and serve. So I'm just going to get my my tomatillo soup base into my pan here tonight, and we're going to make some supper up so you can see what the end result is. So I've got a quart of my soup base. I'm going to put in a pint of canned pork. Now, you could use any meat of your choice. You could do beef, venison, chicken, pork, turkey. If you have elk, whatever you have as far as canned meats is concerned, ground beef, it all works really, really well. And you can just do it per your taste and your choices, I guess, honestly, is what it breaks down to. It's very, very versatile. So I'm going to get my meat in there, and then I'm going to add my pint of canned corn. And I am draining the fluids off of these. I don't want any additional fluid to my soup, so I am obviously just draining all the excess fluid off before I add it into the pot, because the tomatillos are fluidy enough as it is on their own. All right, and then I am just literally going to heat this until it's good and hot, and serve it for supper. So after I get this heated up, I will be back and I will show you the final results in a bowl. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, guys, so the soup is hot and ready to eat, and oh my goodness, it smells delicious. It looks delicious, and I can guarantee it tastes delicious. I'm just going to let you have a little look here. Let's see if I can aim the camera a little different so that maybe the lights will show. Look at how wonderful that is. It's, like I said, it's like a green chili, and you can just personalize it however you want. Now, with my pork and my corn in there, it's going to add just a little touch of sweetness to it, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, I did want to talk to you, I'm going to garnish my soup here before I take a bite. I want to talk to you about a wonderful product that I found just a few weeks ago. If you're anything like our family, we go through a lot of cheese. And a couple of weeks ago, I took a chance on this. I was at Walmart, and it's Cabot, and it's called Seriously Sharp Cheddar Cheese. I am so impressed with this cheese, you guys. It has such a strong cheddar flavor that where your family might go through an entire 8-ounce block of cheese, I swear you will only need to use half of the block because it is so nice and strong, flavored in cheddar. I'm finding that I'm using just less and less of this cheese than I ever do of any other type of cheddar. And plus, there is no yellow food coloring in it. So I am super impressed with this product. Give it a try yourself. Seriously, it's good stuff. But anyway, so that's where I'm going with my garnishing tonight. I did shred up a little bit of that cheddar cheese, so I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that cheddar on there. And then I'm also going to give myself a little dollop of sour cream on top because that's how I like my chili, to be honest with you. I'll just use that spoon. And then I ran out to the garden and I got some wonderful fresh garlic chives just to sprinkle on the top there. So you can just see how wonderful. And you have an entire meal right in a bowl, okay? You've got your meat, you've got your veggies, and you've got a little bit of dairy in there too. So all I need really is a little bit of crusty bread and oh, our meal is done. But anyway, I'll give this a try here for you. Page up. Oh, there we go. My on cam there. Anyway, this is just amazing soup. I hope you give it a try in your own homes. It's delicious. Oh, so yummy. Just the perfect amount of spice. That corn adds a little bit of sweetness to it. It's not overly sweet though. Now you remember I did add just a little bit of brown sugar to it because it was very, very tart before canning. But I added just a tiny bit of brown sugar to take a little bit of that sour bite off of it, and that was just perfect. Oh, and my spices and everything in there are just wonderful this time. Absolutely delicious. Just a wonderful, quick, and easy meal. I'll finish chewing here. I think that touch of chili powder that I elected to put in, I think I can taste a little of that this time too. Oh, just so wonderful and so fun. And actually pretty easy, especially if you don't have to go through the whole de-seeding thing. I wish I could eat the seeds, but whatever. We all have our things. So anyway, I'm going to sit down and eat my yummy soup. Thank you for spending your time with me again. God bless you all, and happy canning, everybody.